Billionaire's legs were lifeless for 20 years. Then SHE arrived and miracles happened. The wheelchair's leather seat had molded perfectly to Marcus Kane's body after 20 years. 20 long years since the accident that took everything from him: his ability to walk, his dreams of climbing mountains, and most painfully, his faith in miracles. At 45, Marcus was worth $3 billion. His tech empire stretched across continents. His name graced the covers of business magazines, and world leaders sought his advice. But none of that money could buy him the one thing he wanted most: to feel his legs again. The doctors had been clear from day one. Complete spinal cord injury, they said. No chance of recovery. The words echoed in his mind every morning when he woke up, and every night before he slept. Marcus had tried everything. The best specialists in Switzerland, experimental treatments in Japan, stem cell therapy in Germany. He'd spent millions chasing hope, only to be disappointed again and again. Eventually, he stopped trying. He built walls around his heart and focused on the only thing that never failed him: making money. His Manhattan penthouse was a fortress of luxury and loneliness. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered breathtaking views of the city, but Marcus rarely looked outside anymore. What was the point? The world below moved and danced while he remained still, trapped in his chair. That Tuesday morning started like any other. Marcus was reviewing quarterly reports when his assistant, Janet, knocked on his office door. "Mr. Kane, there's someone here to see you," she said hesitantly. "I don't have any appointments until 3, Marcus replied without looking up from his papers. "I know, sir, but she's different. She says she's here about your legs." Marcus's blood turned cold. Nobody talked about his legs. Not anymore. He'd made it clear years ago that the topic was off limits. "Tell whoever it is to leave," he said firmly. "Sir, I tried, but she said you'd regret not meeting her. She seems to know things about your condition that—" "I said no." Marcus's voice boomed across the office. But Janet didn't move. In all her 15 years working for him, she had never disobeyed a direct order. "Mr. Kane, please. Just 5 minutes. I have a feeling about this." Something in Janet's voice made Marcus look up. His assistant's eyes held an unusual sparkle, a hope he hadn't seen in years. "Fine," he sighed. 5 minutes. The woman who entered his office was nothing like what Marcus expected. She was young, maybe in her early 30s, with warm brown eyes and a gentle smile. She wore simple clothes, jeans and a white sweater, and carried a small leather bag. "Mr. Kane, I'm Dr. Elena Rodriguez," she said, extending her hand. Marcus didn't take it. "If you're here to sell me some miracle cure, you can save your breath. I've heard them all." Elena didn't seem offended. Instead, she pulled up a chair and sat down, looking directly into his eyes. "I'm not here to sell you anything," she said softly. "I'm here because I believe I can help you walk again." Marcus laughed bitterly. "Do you know how many people have said those exact words to me? Hundreds. And do you know how many times I've walked since my accident? 0. "I know," Elena said calmly. "I've read your medical files. Every single one. I know about Dr. Peterson's failed surgery in 2010. I know about the experimental treatment in Tokyo that left you in pain for months. I know about the stem cell therapy in Munich that gave you hope for 3 weeks before crushing it completely." Marcus stared at her. How could she know all this? His medical information was strictly confidential. "How do you?" "Because I've been studying your case for 3 years," Elena interrupted. "Not to write a paper or make money, but because I believe your injury isn't as permanent as everyone thinks." She opened her leather bag and pulled out a tablet. "May I show you something?" Against his better judgment, Marcus nodded. Elena swiped through several medical scans. "These are your original X-rays and MRIs from 20 years ago. Now look at your most recent scans from last year." She placed the images side by side. Marcus had seen these scans hundreds of times, but Elena pointed to something he'd never noticed. "Here," she said, touching a small area on the screen. "Do you see this tiny shadow? It's barely visible, but it's there. Your spinal cord wasn't completely severed. There's a microscopic connection that everyone missed. Marcus's heart began to race. That's impossible. Every doctor I've seen. Every doctor looked at the obvious damage, Elena said. But I specialize in cases like yours. Cases where hope seems lost but isn't completely gone. She pulled out another device, something Marcus had never seen before. It looked like a small computer connected to several thin wires. This is my own invention, Elena explained. It's designed to stimulate the remaining nerve pathways and gradually strengthen them. But it only works if the patient truly wants it to work. Marcus felt something he hadn't felt in years, a flutter of hope. But he quickly pushed it down. Hope was dangerous. Hope led to disappointment. Even if what you're saying is true, he said carefully, why would you help me? What do you want in return? Elena smiled sadly. My brother had the same injury you have. He was told he'd never walk again too. I spent 10 years developing this technology for him. Her voice broke slightly. He died in a car accident 2 years ago, before I could help him. The office fell silent. Marcus saw tears in Elena's eyes, and for the first time in years, his heart softened. I'm sorry, he said quietly. He made me promise to help others, Elena continued. You're not my first patient, Mr. Kane. I've helped 12 people walk again in the past year. But I don't do it for money. I do it because my brother would have wanted me to. Marcus studied her face. There was no deception there, no hidden agenda. Just pure, honest hope. What would this treatment involve? He asked. 3 months, Elena said. 3 months of daily sessions with my equipment. It won't be easy. The nerve stimulation can be painful, and you'll need to relearn everything. Balance, coordination, strength. Most people give up after a few weeks. And if it doesn't work, then you'll be exactly where you are now. But if it does work, she paused. You'll get your life back. Marcus closed his eyes. 20 years of disappointment weighed heavy on his shoulders. 20 years of doctors making promises they couldn't keep. 20 years of hope crushed over and over again. But something about Elena was different. Maybe it was the way she spoke about her brother. Maybe it was the sadness in her eyes that matched his own. Or maybe it was simply that he was tired of living without hope. When do we start? He heard himself say. The first session was exactly as painful as Elena had warned. The electrical stimulation felt like lightning shooting through his legs. Marcus gritted his teeth and gripped the arms of his wheelchair until his knuckles turned white. I can turn it down, Elena offered. No, Marcus gasped. Keep going. Every day for 2 weeks, Elena came to his penthouse. Every day, Marcus endured the pain. And every day, nothing happened. His legs remained as lifeless as ever. Maybe this was a mistake, Marcus said after the 15th session. The others said the same thing, Elena replied, adjusting her equipment. Sarah Patterson gave up after 10 days. But look at her now. She ran her first marathon last month. She showed Marcus a photo on her phone. A woman with a huge smile crossing a finish line. You have to trust the process, Elena said gently. Miracles don't happen overnight. On the 21st day, something changed. Marcus was reading emails when he felt it. A tiny tingling sensation in his right foot. He almost dismissed it as imagination, but there it was again. Elena, he called out. She rushed into the room. What is it? My foot. I think I felt something. Elena's eyes widened. She knelt beside his wheelchair and gently touched his right foot. Can you feel this? Marcus concentrated hard. Yes, he whispered. I can feel it. For the first time since they'd met, Elena cried. But these were tears of joy. The progress was slow but steady. First, the tingling spread to both feet. Then, faint sensations in his calves. After 6 weeks, Marcus could feel Elena's touch all the way up to his knees. This is incredible, said Dr. Williams, Marcus's longtime physician, reviewing the latest tests. I've never seen anything like it. The nerve pathways are actually regenerating. But feeling was only the beginning. Teaching his legs to move again was an entirely different challenge. Elena brought in physical therapists, but she remained his primary coach. "Don't think about walking," she said during one particularly frustrating session. "Think about standing. Think about feeling the ground beneath your feet." Marcus was suspended in a harness, his legs dangling uselessly below him. He'd been trying to take a step for an hour with no success. "I can't do this," he said, exhausted. "It's been too long." "My brother used to say the same thing," Elena said quietly. "He'd get so frustrated during his therapy sessions. But I always reminded him that his legs weren't broken. They were just sleeping. And sleeping things can wake up." Something in her words sparked something in Marcus. He closed his eyes and imagined his legs not as damaged, but as sleeping. Slowly, he focused all his energy on his right leg. "Move," he thought. "Wake up." And then, like a miracle, his right leg shifted forward. Just an inch, but it moved. "Did you see that?" Marcus shouted. Elena was crying again. "I saw it. Keep going." The next 2 months passed in a blur of hard work and small victories. First steps became first walks. First walks became longer strolls around his penthouse. Marcus's world, which had been confined to his wheelchair for 20 years, suddenly expanded. The day Marcus walked out of his building without assistance, paparazzi photographers went crazy. The pictures made front pages around the world. Miracle in Manhattan read one headline. Billionaire walks again read another. But Marcus barely noticed the media attention. He was too busy experiencing the simple joy of walking to his favorite coffee shop, feeling the autumn breeze on his face, and seeing the world from a standing perspective again. "How does it feel?" Elena asked during their final session. "Like I've been reborn," Marcus replied honestly. "I'd forgotten what it was like to look people in the eye while standing. I'd forgotten the feeling of ground beneath my feet." Elena packed up her equipment for the last time. Her work with Marcus was done. "Where will you go next?" Marcus asked. "There's a young girl in Chicago," Elena said. "Bicycle accident. Her parents contacted me last week." Marcus nodded, understanding. Elena would continue her mission, helping others find their miracles. "Let me fund your work," he offered. "Whatever you need, equipment, research, assistance. Money is no object." Elena smiled. "That would help a lot of people, Mr. Kane. Thank you." As Elena prepared to leave, Marcus felt overwhelmed with gratitude. This woman had given him back his life, asked for nothing in return, and was already moving on to help someone else. "Elena," he called out as she reached the door. "Why me? Of all the people you could have helped, why did you choose me?" She turned around, and for a moment, Marcus saw the same sadness that had been in her eyes when they first met. "Because my brother always said that if he could walk again, he'd use his second chance to help others. You have more resources than anyone to make that happen." She paused. "I guess I'm hoping you'll do what he never got the chance to do." After Elena left, Marcus stood by his window looking out at the city below. For 20 years, he'd felt disconnected from the world. Now, he felt like he was truly part of it again. He thought about Elena's words. A second chance to help others. He had been given a miracle, but what was he going to do with it? The next morning, Marcus called an emergency board meeting. "I want to start a foundation," he announced to his surprised executives. "We're going to fund research into spinal cord injuries. We're going to help people like Elena continue their work. And we're going to make sure that no one has to wait 20 years for their miracle." 6 months later, the Kane Foundation had helped 37 people with spinal cord injuries walk again. Elena's technology was being refined and mass-produced. Hope was being restored around the world. Marcus often thought about the man he used to be. Bitter, isolated, convinced that his story was over. That man had been wrong. His story wasn't over. It was just beginning a new chapter. Every morning now, Marcus woke up and took a walk. Sometimes just around the block, sometimes through Central Park. Each step was a reminder of the miracle that had changed his life. Each step was a promise to help others find their own miracles. He had learned something important. Sometimes the greatest gifts come not from what we receive, but from what we choose to give. Elena had given him back his legs, but more importantly, she had given him back his purpose. Standing on his balcony that evening, feeling the cool breeze on his face and the solid ground beneath his feet, Marcus smiled. 20 years of darkness had led to this moment of light. 20 years of despair had led to unlimited hope. Life had taught him that miracles don't always happen when we expect them. Sometimes they come disguised as strangers with warm hearts and determined spirits. Sometimes they arrive just when we've given up hope completely. And sometimes, the greatest miracle isn't in receiving what we've lost, but in discovering what we're meant to give. Marcus Kane had spent 20 years learning to live without walking. Now he would spend the rest of his life helping others learn to walk again. The wheelchair in the corner of his office remained empty now, a reminder of where he'd been and how far he'd come. But it was no longer a symbol of limitation. It had become a symbol of possibility, proof that even when something seems impossible, miracles can still happen. All it takes is one person who refuses to give up on hope. If this story inspired you and you'd like to discover more incredible stories of triumph, hope, and human resilience, make sure to subscribe to Beyond Yesterday YouTube channel. Every week, we share amazing stories of people who overcame impossible odds and found their miracles. Don't miss out on these life-changing stories. Hit that subscribe button today and join our community of hope.